T-Mobile's unlimited plan costs $95 per month for a smaller network, plus monthly taxes and fees. It's enough to wreck your day. Cricket's unlimited plan gives you a bigger network for $25 less per month, with monthly taxes and fees included. Cricket Wireless, something to smile about.
Download speeds max of 8 megabits per second LTE and 4 megabits per second 4G. Price comparison based on one smartphone line with unlimited plan. Mobile hotspot not available. Activation, other fees and restrictions apply. Coverage not available everywhere. Terms, features, and restrictions subject to change. See store for details.
The Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliate stations coast to coast present
Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue.
The 0-2, swing and a miss, strike three, blew it past it.
Discussing baseball, good drinks, and food.
And you got your honey mustard?
I love mustard.
With Ted Hicks, Todd Vandenberg, and Lee Vowell.
Well, big deal. I am very professional.
Every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on the Happy Hour Network.
And welcome to Baseball Beer and Barbecue with Ted, Todd, and Lee. Like us on Facebook, follow us on the Twitter at Baseball Beer BBQ, and read us on our blog site, baseballbeerbbq.com. Not sure if there's anything there recently, but hey, if you like last year, go to that website and read it. And get even more info at thehappyhournetwork.com. Same thing. We will talk in just a few minutes with J.A. Sherman of SB Nation's Oklahoma City Thunder site. Welcome to Loud City, and we'll talk NBA playoffs, of course. The Cavs won last night, so they're in the finals. LeBron has been in the finals, I believe, for the last 275 years. So, you know, it'll be interesting. Hopefully he comes through again. I'd like to see it.
He's the Wolverine.
He is the Wolverine. So, Ted, where else can we be found?
Oh, we can be found everywhere across the interwebs, but specifically at NGSC Sports, I-95, Back Sports page, RF Sports, XRP Radio, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Arena Sports Network, and a special friend that Todd will introduce.
Our special friend is Computer Repair NC at CJ Computers NC 919-653-8496. I'm busy on a spreadsheet, so I can't talk very long. But if something screws up on my laptop, like this delay, I will be sending it to Raleigh, North Carolina, to Computer Repair NC.
Interesting. I'm not sure. Todd broke up a little bit, Ted. I don't know if you heard that or if it's just me. So we'll move forward. So before we get into before we get into baseball, Ted's playing with me. Before we get into baseball, we got a lot of other stuff to talk about. So let's start with the French Open. Of course, Rafael Nadal. Ted, I'm not sure how big of a tennis fan you are and how much it affects your life. Todd and I are both tennis fans. Rafael Nadal pulling out of the French Open due to a left wrist injury. His left wrist injury. It's sad, that he made it this part. His quote was, "To win the tournament, I need 5 more matches." He said this is post-match press conference after announcing that he wouldn't play. Quote, "And the doctor says that is 100% impossible," unquote. So it's, we've seen Federer's body start to break down a little bit, and Nadal's body has been breaking down since he started playing tennis, I believe. Somebody's enjoying their ice in their glass, I think. So.
I'm sorry.
Shaken, not stirred, sir. So anyway, yeah, we've now lost. Us tennis fans have lost. We tennis fans have lost Nadal and Federer in this French Open. Still could be, Djokovic's tournament to lose. I hope he wins it because it'd be nice to actually see him win one French, so he gets the career Grand Slam. On the women's side, we still have Serena and Venus. We also have another young American, Shelby Rogers, 23-year-old American. Todd, I don't know did you see her score, Shelby Rogers, what she won by?
I did not, sir.
Okay.
I did not see her
delay. I'm going to ask the question, and the listeners will have quiet time for 5 seconds. So anyway, she actually beat 2-time Wimbledon champion Vitova, and Shelby Rogers ranked 108. Here's a math question for you, Todd. 3 sets, Rogers won over Vitova. Rogers won 18 games. Okay, 18 games total. What were the scores of the sets?
0-0-0.
Well, it's 3 sets. It's women's. No, I like it. So, but it is a strange sport. I'll say this: she won in 3 sets, 6-love, 6-7, 6-love.
Oh,
and that's crazy.
I had 2 of the zeros right. I'm the champion.
Anyway, so that is French Open update. Still got Djokovic, Andy Murray still in it. Wawrinka, who won it last year, still in it. It's been a really strange tournament so far. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Todd is still talking because he's on a delay. Doesn't realize people are talking. So I apologize to all the listeners out there. So NBA and NHL, we have one team in the finals of the NBA, both teams in the NHL. Ted, I know you like the NHL. Are you going to spend any time watching Pittsburgh and San Jose?
I will probably spend maybe one game, maybe the initial game, watching it because neither of the team I'm particularly fond of. I mean, everyone loves Crosby. 30 years ago, everyone loved Cosby, but now everyone loves Crosby. Yeah, I was actually pulling for the Bolts, to tell you the truth.
Todd's just now laughing at your question.
Yeah, so
I just got that from 30 years ago.
It's like Todd is in an alternate universe right now.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
So yeah, for the most part, no, I won't. But I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. The thing is, my question, we hope to have Chris Wassel on during the finals at some point. One of the questions I have for him is, does not only do non-hockey fans want to watch this, possibly not want to watch this, but also, Todd has hung up. He's tired of us talking. The other question I have is, do the general hockey fans want to watch this?
Right.
Now, I get the Penguins. I will watch as much as I can.
Right.
But the thing is, it's like you mentioned it. There's Sidney Crosby. There's Malkin. And then, there's some great players. You got Pavelski. You got Thornton for San Jose. But it's the cities, I think, that are the problem. Pittsburgh and San Jose.
Right. It's kind of like, and I'm sorry for OKC fans because I am a fan of OKC. Okay, a distant fan. But if the finals was OKC and the Raptors, you know, it would be like, ugh. So you kind of wonder, the look on Gary Bettman's face is kind of like, oh, I don't know what I pulled off here. Versus, think of it, a couple of years ago when it was Rangers and Kings.
Mm-hmm. Or when Chicago plays. Obviously I'm a Blackhawks homer, but Chicago's a big city. They draw fans wherever they go. They draw ratings. But, yeah, I think we're going to get over the next week and a half a lot of Sidney Crosby on TV, FaceTime, because that's what's going to sell the series. If anybody's going to tune in, the average sports fan might know Sidney Crosby, and maybe they know Joe Thornton. I doubt that. And maybe they know Malkin. But Sidney Crosby is the guy who's going to have to win this ratings war for the NHL. So it'll be interesting.
Hey, can we sit on this for a minute? Because I was going to say to you, and if Chris was on, I would hit him. The one thing we many years ago, when I used to be a part of the Barbershop podcast, we would ask, why are they marketing this league so terribly? Why are they marketing this league so terribly? Why aren't the premier games on, NBC? Why aren't they available for streaming? Unauthenticated streaming. Why, how come they haven't put this sport out there? Because it's always going to be the fourth sport.
Yep.
What's your take on that, Lee?
Actually, I think that's a great point, and I think the problem is, to me, it's that Bettman came from the NBA, and the way the NBA is able to sell itself versus the NHL are two totally different things, because the NBA is able to sell itself as an individual player sport. Oh, you got LeBron. Right. You're going to watch LeBron. You're going to watch Westbrook. You're going to watch Steph Curry. The NHL is it's such a team sport. It's because of the way the sport's set up. You're going to have your best players on the ice for a minute and a half, and then they're going to change lines. And it's one of those things you can't sell the sport the same way. And I don't know if Bettman has ever figured that out, coming from the NBA, being Stern's, schlub for such a long time. Oh, I'll go to the NHL. It'll be easy to sell. Now, has the NHL made money since Bettman's been there? Every sport's made money, I think, since Bettman's been with the NHL. Yeah, because the sports make money at this point. You'd have to be god-awful to not make money. But he doesn't do it the right way. And then now we've reached the point where it's Pittsburgh and San Jose, and I'll tune in, and I hope the ratings are great, but they're not going to be. They're just not going to be. They aren't. True hockey fans might tune in, but I don't think the general public will. Sorry, go ahead, Ted.
No, I was just going to say, and this is, I can't wait for Chris to come on. I know he's going to be on soon, around about the finals time, or during the finals, because I want to ask him, if he worked for the NHL, how would he market the Winter Classics? Because outside, external to the U.S., in Canada, hockey is booming. But it's pulling those, kind of novice type fans like us. I mean, well, I'll say like me, because you have a deeper connection with your Blackhawks. But how do you get those fans there? How do you get those fans interested? How do you get them to turn on the TV? After they've worked their 9 to 5, how do you get them to come home and want to, kind of like how we are with baseball? We can't wait until we get home and turn on MLB or MLB TV package and see our favorite teams. I don't see that with the diehard fans in the U.S. And the story will be told again with the ratings.
Yep, that's a good point. And we don't want to say, oh, the U.S. is the best ever, or anything like that. But the fact remains, if you want to make money, the U.S. is your market. I mean, we have money. And that's just the fact of life, unfortunately for hockey, because it's such a great sport. But, when you have half the country is in a warm-weathered climate and you've got struggling teams like Arizona with drawing fans, that's a problem. But, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say to you, name another country that is okay with going to a sporting event, purchasing a $15 watered-down beer, and sitting in their seat and cheering for their fans.
Yep. Yeah. I can't even. I mean, Canada. The ticket prices in Toronto are crazy, but I mean, it's like, and that's for hockey. But yeah, you're right. Except maybe Canada, because they're forced kind of into that American market. I agree. That's just. Surely it's not that way everywhere else. I'd love to see a baseball game in Japan and see how much, if they sell beer. I'm sure they do. I'd see how much the prices are. That'd be interesting, comparatively speaking. So, but a sport that is not struggling, obviously, the NBA, because LeBron is in his 6th straight finals, right? I mean, that sounds insane, but he's won 2. He's 6 straight finals. This team is better than it was last year because you have a healthy Kyrie and you have a healthy Love going into the finals, where they didn't have that last year. No matter who they play, it's going to be a much tougher out. It looks like it could be the Thunder going back home at this point. They've blown the Warriors out both times at home. They should win tonight. And I'll say this, the NBA, you mentioned Oklahoma City versus Toronto, and I think that's not a slight. You didn't mean a slight toward OKC. It's more of a slight to Toronto, because he's going to, I know. Well, we like basketball. Oh, DeRozan and Lowry, but most people don't probably know who those players are. Most people do know who Russell Westbrook and some guy named Kevin Durant, never heard of him, plays for OKC. But if it's Cleveland and OKC, I mean, no matter if it's Golden State, but you got 5 of the best 15 players on the planet, maybe 20 players. That's pretty awesome, right?
It is. It really is. It really, really is. And that's where the NBA does a heck of a job with marketing their players. That's things that MLB is learning now, how to do better with these, special players like, a Bryce Harper type player. The MLB knows how to do that. The NBA has lived off of that for decades. You get that special player, you find their market, and then it's kind of like a nonstop PR machine just kicks off. So, I mean, it's going to be great for Believeland or Cleveland, and I mean, personally, I hope they win their I hope they win the championship, truthfully, because they need it. That city needs it. The state needs it, and I mean, for once, I'm per se not a LeBron James fan, but I mean, I think the guy deserves it. He's put this team on his back. We saw what he did last year, with without Love and without Irving. He did the best he could.
Yeah, great point. And I think the one thing he's done this year is he has, last night was the first time he'd scored 30 or more points in postseason game. I think one thing he's done this season is not realized, but he's been like, you know what? I actually have, thankfully, a healthy Cavs team, fairly healthy Cavs team going into the finals. He's okay with stepping back, and it makes the team better. Todd, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I think one couple things is first, probably what's going to happen is LeBron's going to throw a pass directly to Kevin Durant in the 99-98 game in Game 7, and Durant will slam it home for the win because that's how Cleveland rolls. I hope not, but it wouldn't be surprising the way Cleveland sports are. As far as marketing the NBA, yeah, they do a terrific job of it, but to me, it's easier for them because every player has more impact. I mean, each team, there's only 5 guys you got to pay attention to at any given time. Whereas baseball, you got 9. Football, you get 752. Half of them concussed, but, it's okay. So, I mean, it lends itself to marketing the individual more because each person has a much bigger impact on the game, which is, I mean, they could have definitely screwed it up. I mean, no doubt about that, and they don't. And, and people's loyalties, I don't know, I mean, people's loyalties in the NBA are almost as strong to the players as to the team, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
as opposed to, I don't think it's quite that way in other sports. Certainly not in baseball, I don't think. But yeah, they've done a great job marketing. But to me, it's an easier gig. I mean, it's close to marketing. UFC, which obviously not anywhere near on that level. But there's not a whole lot of people who are fans of America's Top Team or the Black Gazillions, as opposed to I'm a fan of John Bone Jones or Stipe Miocic, who is the Cleveland champion. By the way, they have their champion, and nobody cares because it's not a huge sport, despite what Dana White would like to have you say. It's a big sport, but it's not at that level. So Cleveland does have their champion.
It's not a team sport.
It's not the end of the world. No,
it's not a team sport. Now, I was going to jokingly make the comment about, you know what? It's the NBA is, they can't quite sell their players the way the tennis can, but it's totally different. I mean, it's a team sport, so.
Right.
Yeah, I think we've brought up some really good points about the NBA, NHL. I still hope the Cavs win. I mean, I've lived in Cleveland. It'd be great. You guys are poo-pooing Cleveland like they haven't won anything since, 1964? I mean, come on.
Wow.
It would be really good for them to win.
So before we get into baseball and before we get into Art Briles, maybe the greatest lover of women in the country, I joke, like Baylor University, like Southern Baptist overall. And before we get into Donald Trump, maybe a Southern Baptist himself, the Tonys actually come up next Sunday. For anybody who hasn't heard, Hamilton is nominated for Best New Musical and tons of other things. For people who haven't heard any of the music, have you guys heard any of the music from Hamilton?
Yes.
It's the talk of the town up here. You can't even get tickets.
Yeah, have you heard? I just wonder if the general public hears much Broadway music from.
I don't think so.
No,
okay.
I don't think so either.
Well, I do have one little. It's the opening song to Hamilton, an American musical. That's what it's called. We're not going to play all 4 minutes, but this music is different. It's full of energy, and you know what? Honestly, I mean, Broadway had a stigma for so many years of being the great white way but honestly, I think Broadway at this point probably does a much better job with involving African Americans than the movies do at this point. So, but this is a little bit of from Hamilton, the opening song from the musical.
How does a bastard, orphan, son of a whore and a Scotsman, dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean by providence, impoverished and squalor, grow up to be a hero and a scholar? The $10 founding father without a father got a lot farther by working a lot harder, by being a lot smarter, by being a self-starter. By 14, they placed him in charge of a trading charter.
And every day while slaves were being slaughtered and carted away across the waves, he struggled and kept his guard up. Inside he was longing for something to be a part of. The brother was ready to beg, steal, borrow, or barter.
Then a hurricane came and devastation reigned. Our man saw his future dripping down the drain. Put a pencil to his temple, connected it to his brain, and he wrote his first refrain, a testament to his pain. Well, the word got around and said this kid is insane, man. Took up a collection just to send him to the mainland. Get your education, don't forget from whence you came, and the world's gonna know your name. What's your name, man? Alexander Hamilton. My name is Alexander Hamilton, and there's a million things I haven't done, but just you wait, just you wait. When he was 10, Father split.
Anyway, that's a little bit from Alexander or Hamilton, American musical, and that's the opening song. And I think it's a phenomenal musical, and it's one of those. I remember watching Keith Olbermann. He was talking about the Book of Mormon several years ago about how exciting it was. I think this is great for Broadway. I think it's great for entertainment. I think it's great for having African Americans involved in a musical. And the thing is, the whole thing is not just them sounding like, oh, we're rapping, because they're singing. I mean, there's so much talent that's in this musical. Anybody who can't make it to New York should check out the soundtrack and watch the Tonys, and if they play that song, it's going to be amazing, because it's am I a big fan of Alexander Hamilton? No, but the musical's great, of course. So
I just want to add on to this, Lee, the fact that, see, you're into the arts because of your wife, because she's into theater. You know, that's something that I don't want to say a lot of people aren't into, but that's something they should open their eyes and their ears to. I mean, so many great, talented actors and actresses are, you know, pushed towards theater. That's kind of like that's kind of like the genre that isn't being overrun by non-actors and non-actresses. I'm sitting here drinking a little bit of Amaretto early in the morning. Sorry about that.
Gin and juice.
Sorry about that.
Gin and juice.
But because what I'm saying is, if you look at the movies, they're all being overrun by actors. I mean, by rappers and athletes. But to be in the theater, you have to be really, really talented, and that has to be your craft.
Mm-hmm. I'd be frightened to get up on stage every night and do. I mean, if you fell, you fell instantly. It's not like you get a retake.
Yeah. Right.
So anyway, moving on from Alexander Hamilton, probably father of the Republican Party for all we know, to Donald Trump. Maybe, current Republican, and hopefully the death of the Republican Party. So, anyway, he has cemented his nomination due to a couple of voter random. This is so weird how the American democracy works. He got the nomination. He cemented on Thursday, I think, right? Thursday or Friday, due to 2 delegates in North Dakota when they didn't even have a vote. It's really strange. Anyway, Donald Trump is now. I can't believe I'm saying this. Donald Trump is the Republican nominee for President of the United States. We always downplay Republicans and Donald Trump. Is there any chance, in your guys' view, that he actually works out if he won the presidency, that he works out maybe as well as Schwarzenegger did in California, where it wasn't so bad, and actually maybe he improved things business-wise?
No. I don't think so, because Schwarzenegger, and he came in with zero experience, but he also didn't come in with this incredible set of preconceived idiotic notions and the thought process that everything is, all I have to do is, lift my finger and wave and things change just because I want them to change. It doesn't even have to work that way in this country, let alone in the world. He wants to pull out of oh my God, it's just ridiculous, the number of accords and treaties that he wants to abandon and change. Ultimately, all of them because they're not good for business. And this is the culmination of what the Republicans have wanted. They want a businessman, which, the question really is, how good of a businessman is he when he started off with $300 million?
Right.
and he bankrupted 4 companies. So, I mean, he won't release his tax returns, and there's question as to whether or not it's because he actually makes less than $500,000 a year. So that's kind of interesting for his immense wealth. Of course, he could have holdings, I get that, but still, it hurts his ego to be seen as not making that much money, or that he's not paying any taxes at all, which is also certainly likely. And he knows that would hurt his support, because at some point, I think people who support him may actually start paying attention to what he does, and maybe a little bit to what he says. I mean, my God, he flip-flops on everything. I was just reading an article this morning. He's gone back and forth on the value/evil of teleprompters like 6 times in the past 2 weeks. I'll never use a teleprompter. That's fake. They're weak. Oh, I use a teleprompter because it keeps you out of trouble. Oh, Hillary's an idiot because she uses a teleprompter. Well, teleprompters have their, he's like that on everything. And that's not an important issue. He's like that on every issue. The big flap about his, women who get abortions should be punished. Oh, no, I was misquoted 3 hours ago, dude. Just admit you never gave anything serious thought in your life except how to make a buck. Quick.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. And this is what he's doing. He's running. He's the Republican nominee. He probably doesn't really even care if he wins. Would he like to be president? Sure, but he knows long term this is better for business for him, right?
This is better for his brand. This is better for his business. Sure. The question Republicans are going to be asking as they go towards, as we all go towards November, as we march into our polling to make our vote, is going to be, is this guy really a Republican? If you're looking at it, you have so many different, I'm hearing, and we all hear through the media, so many different Republicans that say, I'm staying home. I'm not voting at all.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
And the fact that Ryan,
we hear it about the Democrats as well, though.
Yeah, you've got 2 polarizing candidates.
Yeah, like you said, I was just, like you said a couple of weeks ago, definitely the most polarizing candidates probably ever. My God.
Ever.
It's unbelievable, the disapproval that, the presumptive nominee, Hillary, because, barring some weird thing, Sanders is not going to win, which makes me sad and makes all of us sad, but, that's how things are shaping up. But, my God, I haven't heard as many Democrats, thankfully, that are saying they're going to sit this one out as I had Republicans. So hopefully that stays true.
So, I just want to throw this out primarily to Lee. Sanders isn't going away. What are they saying or what do we believe is being said to him behind closed doors?
Well, I think the thing with Bernie is he's never liked losing. And it's hard for him to lose. I'll be honest. And I'm a huge Bernie Sanders follower and fan. I've donated monthly to his campaign, and I think the issue is at some point he's going to have to take a step back. And I think that's going to be difficult for him. It's not that he's not worthy. It's just the way we elect our nominees for each party, because we only have 2 parties. Let's be real. We're no longer a democracy. We choose 2 parties, and that's the way the system is set up, right? We're basically authoritarian government because we only have 2 choices. We're never given any more. And we're not smart enough to elect anymore, to be honest. But the thing with Bernie is he's not going to go down lightly, but he probably should, maybe for the betterment of the Democratic Party. When it gets to be closer to now, we're almost in June, and we have our convention. He's not going to be able to win. The only hope, really, that he has is they do find that Hillary, with the email issue, oh, you know what, she broke the law. But the thing with everybody's bringing up about Hillary, and Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, or Ted, correct me if I'm wrong, she's not the first Secretary of State to have her own private server. The last two before her have had that. This is not something new that's happening. It's not her that made this up. So
no, it's just a witch hunt.
It is. And it's funny that Donald Trump has decided to, he's focusing on Hillary a little bit, and he's really focusing on Bernie with the debate thing. I don't really understand that at all. Whoever says, as the nominee for their party, oh, you know what, now that I'm the nominee, I'm going to go after the guy who's not going to win the nomination for the other party? Well, that doesn't make any sense. And then he's talking about Elizabeth Warren. Oh, yes, let's go after Elizabeth Warren, Mr. Trump. Let's do that. Debate Elizabeth Warren, please. I beg you. Anyway, let's move on from one Republican woman-hating person to the other one, Art Briles. He's of course now let go from Baylor because I don't know how I feel about Art Briles. Was he one of these guys who gets caught up in college football because it makes so much money and that he has to do what's best for his football team because they generate so much money for a Southern Baptist University? And who else cares about anything else at Baylor? Oh, they have a great women's basketball team. We as Americans, we really don't like women too much, to be honest. So we want our male sports teams to do well. The women's basketball team, oh, that's a novelty. We don't really care. It doesn't make that much money. Anyway, I don't believe that. That's just how it is. Art Briles let go this week, surprisingly. They must have just shit on this guy, right? Because they would never let him go otherwise, correct?
Correct. Had to.
Correct. What bothers me is that Ken Starr is still employed. He's not in the same capacity, but he's still with the university. It's like, I think he's equally culpable. And it's like, so what's the story there? What does he have on them? Is my question as far as that goes. That's, my God, Mike and Mike, they were
Southern
talking about
Baptists
it.
Never cover up anything. They never cover up anything. There's no hiding anything.
Zero reports of sexual attacks over a number of years at that university. Oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense because that never happens on campuses in the United States. I'm not saying it's an epidemic, but it certainly happens. And for them to actually think people would buy in that, oh, there's no attacks here. It's like, yeah, whatever. It's like, oh, my God. Hopefully someone like high up, like Art Briles, like Ken Starr, people like that do seriously jail time because they should. They shouldn't be fired and fined. They should go to jail because they enabled and absolutely supported this kind of culture that said, oh, it's okay to rape women. Unbelievable.
Well, they're just women, Todd. The Southern Baptists, they're just women. They're there to make babies. Really. That's what their job is. So I'm sure I've alienated several of our listeners who are Southern Baptists. and I'm okay with that. So anyway, let's get I think this is a great segue to do our Dummy of the Week. If it's okay, I've recorded mine, and the reason I recorded it, because my Dummy of the Week got mad at us, BBB, for retweeting something that wasn't even original. So I recorded my Dummy of the Week. So I'll play the dummy intro, and then I'll play my Dummy of the Week.
Big dummy!
My Dummy of the Week this week goes to the guy who blocked at Baseball Beer BBQ on Twitter, Chris Jones. Who, you might ask? Exactly. Jones goes by the Twitter handle at @long_drive. Maybe one of the most uninspired handles I know of. Is that a reference to baseball, golf, or being in a car? Anyway, Jones blocked us after I retweeted a post he put up about the Tigers and Miggy Cabrera that he put up on Bleacher Report. His tweet was from a borrowed source. That's right, at Baseball Beer BBQ retweeted something from a public sports site from a person who borrowed the material. My sin, according to Jones, was I did this from my phone. Jones took offense to the way I retweeted, not that I actually did the retweeting at all. Jones almost instantly tweeted at us, BBQ, the way we, quote, should have done this, unquote, by tweeting a GIF of someone moving a mouse over a retweet button. Jones is unaware how Twitter works, I guess. Twitter works on other devices besides PCs, Chris. Anyway, BBB tweeted back, retweeted from my phone. Sorry to upset you. To which Jones blocked us. So we can no longer be among his huge following of 3,000. A number getting smaller each week, it seems. Turns out when I looked at his timeline, he seems to pick fights with everyone. I should point out that Jones is some small-time writer for SB Nation's Phillies site, The Good Fight. By the way, we have had Eric Chesterton from The Good Fight on the show before, and he was fine. Guess Jones is one of those stupid Phillies fans that would have thought it okay to boo Mike Schmidt or cheer when a player gets injured. What is it about the stereotypical Philadelphia fan? I know a few of them, and most seem sensible. Unfortunately, Jones is the example that proves the stereotype. Hey, Chris, the rest of us sports fans have to put up with the same type of crap you throw out from Boston fans a lot of the time, but in their case, we can deal with it because their teams, unlike yours, are actually worth a damn. Chris Jones, my dummy, no, fucking asshole of the week.
Oh, you scorched him.
That's my dummy of the week. Who wants to go?
Hey, we can't even follow that up. We can't follow it up.
Yeah. I don't think I want to follow that up. I won't say they're the dummy of the week, but I will follow up just to nominate people in general who are so concerned about supporting their church community, because this ties in with Baylor, and I'm sure there are tens of thousands of Baylor fans who think this is awful what's happening in Art Briles. There was a controversy, and then Bill, just a couple of weeks ago, Lee, I'm sure you're well aware of it. I know you are. We'll talk to you about it. 2 youth pastors arrested for trafficking in people, and someone posted on Facebook before I knew what the story was. Oh, pray for our congregation, not pray for the 33 kids who were that wasn't even mentioned. Pray for the congregation because of what they're going through. Your priorities are not really well thought out if your first thought is about your church congregation that hired a pedophile predator as opposed to the victims. You have some real hard thinking to do, and that goes out to probably millions of people, unfortunately, who are all up in arms about the wrong things.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So after those two, I'm gonna go a little bit more lighthearted, and I've got to put it out there for our good friend Hardy.
Hold on, I'm gonna unmute you for
Okay.
a second if I can. I'm not sure if it's me or if it's you, Todd. Did it sound like he was going Megatronic there?
I totally heard Megatron.
Okay, good. It wasn't just me. I thought maybe it was my. So Ted, the first time in a long time. Let me see if I'm going to unmute you and see if you've still Megatronic. Go ahead. Start talking again.
Do I sound like Megatron?
Sound? Yeah.
Oh my God,
almost
even better.
It's almost awesome.
Ted's about to take over the world. Hide the spark.
Oh my goodness. Do I still sound like Megatron?
A bit, but it's getting a little bit better.
Starscream.
It's almost like
Rodimus Prime.
Wow. Okay. Sometimes it gets better. So anyway, let's talk a little bit of baseball before we are joined by J.A. Sherman of Welcome to Loud City, SB Nation's Oklahoma City Thunder site. The Mets and Dodgers played. I can't wait to hear Ted say on this. Like actually sounds. Mets and Dodgers. Urias pitched last night for the Dodgers. You know, as a 19-year-old kid, I will say this. I've seen him pitch a little bit this season because he's a minor league Dodger, and the kid did not pitch anything really like he really throws. I think he was totally jacked up for his first start in Major League Baseball. I'm glad he didn't get the loss, even though he probably really should have. The Dodgers somehow scored 4 runs off Familia, which probably shouldn't have happened. The Mets came back and Granderson won. I'll say this about Urias. He did, he struck out Granderson and he struck out David Wright. And, Ted, I don't know if you were watching it that early when he was pitching. This guy is really a guy who's going to have to be extremely prominent and solid for the Dodgers to be successful in the future. I thought first of all, he doesn't walk people, and he walked 4 last night in 2 2/3. That's unlike him. But his breaking stuff was ridiculous. And the pitches that he got Wright and Granderson to strike out on were like, if he can hone those and calm down a little bit, I think this guy's going to be really good. And then at the end of it, it was exciting for Ted because Granderson, a walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth, that's awesome. What do you think about the game, Megatron?
Star screen. Hello.
Now you're just doing it on purpose. You sound fine, other than the extremely sexy Fox and Friends voice of Ted Hicks.
Oh, my goodness. Listen, from the previous segment, thumbs down to Matt Harvey for, stinking it up, walking out, not talking to the media. Matt
Harvey, the new minor league pitcher for the AAA affiliate of the New York Mets?
This guy is more problems than can be. He gets my dummy of the week. Okay, so now to Mets-Dodgers. I expect the entire series to be this way. It was great stuff. You know what? Was the Dodgers pitcher jacked? Yes, he was jacked. He's pitching in New York, first major league start. He's
19.
You can only see 19. You can only see great things coming from him. So there's a lot to look up to. Really nasty stuff. The other piece to it, having Granderson, Familia, every once in a while you'll see him fall apart. But it also shows you the Mets have nothing after Familia. So on days that he implodes, that's it. It's feast or famine sometimes. And that's a good thing, and it's not a good thing because they're willing to stick with him regardless. Granderson does just exactly as we would expect for him to do, and that's be clutch. So great things from the Mets. This is a big weekend for them. 86 reunion, and we've been talking offline. The 86 team. I guess what's still available. They're going to wheel in, I think, tonight for the pregame ceremony.
You mean the players? They're going to wheel in the players?
Yes.
Hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll say I think the Mets will win tonight. I think that Bartolo Colon versus Clayton Kershaw is nobody's idea of a equal matchup. So I think, Sunday night might not be pretty, but yeah, I think the Mets are going to win 2 or 3 of this series, and they should. They have the better pitching staff, especially starting pitching staff. The Dodgers were lucky it wasn't a blowout last night, as it should have been. I'm glad Urias didn't get the loss because it would have been tough to be 0-1 with a 10 ERA when you have that talent. So that's actually Julio Urias in the background. He's still upset. So anyway, Jackie Bradley stopped hitting for some reason. He just decided he didn't want to get to the magical 30 number. It was he got to 29. Todd, what do you think? How, in this day and age when you have such specialized pitching, how special, I guess, is it that someone can have a 29-game hit streak?
That's a pretty big accomplishment, but it's so far away from the number. I think unless you get up into the mid-30s, because every once in a while someone's going to do this. I'm not knocking the accomplishment. I'm just saying it's so far away. He got one of the DiMaggios, so that's good. But it's so far away from 56, and that's never going to happen again. And like you said, especially because the specialized pitching match, it's wow. Whoever does it, if it ever happens, if someone hits 50 and 57 straight, everybody just needs to drop to their knees and bow to this person. Holy cow. It's almost impossible at this point. And 29, seriously, that's a hell of an achievement. It is. Especially, I didn't catch later in the streak, but I think it went up through like 20, when it was at 23 or so. 10 of the games, he got his hit in his first at bat, so he wasn't wasting any time. There were only 2 of the games when he got it in his last at bat, so he was taking care of business all the time. He certainly he didn't seem to be feeling the pressure at all. So it is great to see young stars come up. So not belittling the 29, but I'm just saying it's, unless you get close to 40, I mean, it's kind of fun to knock around, but it's not really much of an achievement because, 29 I'm sure has happened, and I did not bother to Google it first, but I'm sure 29 has happened a lot. So
call it what it is. Call it what it is. It's 29 is like you said, poo poo. It's
poo poo.
It's poo poo. Come on, 29. So what? He won't be remembered for having a 29 game hitting streak.
I don't know why you guys hate Jackie Bradley Jr.
By the way, beer prices.
I wonder how much a beer in Boston is in Fenway Park. It'd be interesting. We should have asked Murph that. That should have been our first question. How much is beer in Fenway? So, yeah, I'll say that Todd and I, before we're joined by J.A. Sherman in just a minute to talk the Thunder, Todd and I enjoyed it anyway. The Seattle Mariners win over Cincinnati last week, 5-4 in Cincinnati. Beautiful ballpark. Stands were half full for a Sunday, but the team's lousy. That's almost not. It's not a criticism of the fans. There's a lot to do. I thought where the stadium was in the riverfront, I thought they'd done an excellent job with that, and it's going to be a long-term success, I think, in Cincinnati. Again, it was nice to see the Mariners get the win, but I thought even the fans that were there, they were there to root on their team, right? Todd? If you're still alive.
So. Yeah. I am still alive. Yeah, so it was great. I was looking up the number of 30-game hit streaks. But, there have been 53, by the way, 30-game hit streaks in history. So, he didn't even make it to that. Yeah, it was a great day. And, I would agree with you. There's a lot to do. And, a baseball game is maybe the best way to spend a nice spring day. But that team's awful. Considering how awful the team is, that was a great crowd. It really was. And they behind their team, which of course lost as they should have because they're terrible. But it was a very fun day, and it is a great park. Very, very nice ballpark.
Yeah, I thought it was. Todd and I we had really good seats, and we walked around the stadium. We ended up at the end, just due to where we were, straight away, like literally straight away center field. And even those were good seats. And the outfield is so small that I thought that, if you were able to get outfield seats, they'd still be really good seats. Like I said, we were as far away as you possibly could be, I think, at the end. And we just wanted to explore the stadium. I thought it was really interesting. I'll say this. I think I texted Ted, but it was interesting that I went to buy, what was I buying? Some kind of drink. And the lady, she said something complimentary about my shirt, the happy hour, the Nike X happy hour shirt. And I was like, oh, thanks. And I think did you take this time? She was literally serious about really buying the shirt, literally off the back of what I was wearing. I think she was like, yeah, I'll buy it from you. It's like, what? Anyway, so that was cool. But before Todd talks, and before we get into a little bit more baseball later, Ted, tell us a little bit about our guest.
We now, once again, welcome J.A. Sherman to the show. Sherman is the editor of the SB Nation's Oklahoma City Thunder site. Welcome to Loud City. Sherm, thanks for being on with us again.
Hey, guys. It's great to be here and talk about the Thunder.
Sounds good. So before we get into the greatness of the Thunder, how has Tyronn Lue made the Cavs an actual team instead of a bunch of talented guys that we saw last season?
Well, I think we've had a little bit of revealing information over the past couple of weeks, especially during I believe it was during the Hawks series where Tyronn Lue started to talk a little bit about the transformation that the team had to take because they were flailing about during the second half of the season, and it seemed like they were not going to really get to where they needed to go. And so he talked a little bit about how the centerpiece of that offense shouldn't be LeBron, it shouldn't be Kyrie, it actually should be Kevin Love. And so he challenged Love to be a prominent part of the offense, to not be afraid and be subordinate to Kyrie and LeBron. And ever since then, it seems like the offense has really started to click. They hit a record number of 3-point shots in that series against the Hawks. And they've continued to, they shot really well in their closeout game against the Raptors last night. And so that seems to have unlocked the potential for their offense. Now, their defense still has a few issues to work out. The pick-and-roll defense is still suspect, especially because when you've got Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love trying to stop a pick-and-roll defense or pick-and-roll play, they're not great at that yet. But from an offensive standpoint, they've definitely reached into a new level, and that's all the credit to Tyronn Lue and to LeBron finally buying into what Lue was trying to sell.
And now we can move on to the Thunder. So their defense so far has definitely been the difference against Golden State. As you mentioned, you thought that would be the key. Why couldn't anybody else handle the Warriors, though?
Well, I think perhaps it's simply the perfect kind of matchup. But even though the Thunder have put themselves in a position to close out tonight in Game 6, we still didn't see a lot of the evidence during the regular season as to what we're seeing now, especially with the Thunder defense. They were always ranked middle of the pack throughout the entire season. They showed some things in stretches, but I would say less than 20 games over the course of the regular season did we really see a defense that knew how to play and play together and to have a purpose in what they were trying to do. And that's one of the great things about the NBA playoffs is over the course of 7 games, you figure out who you are and how you need to play in order to stop another team. And that's what we've seen. They figured out the solution they needed against the Spurs, and now they've sort of figured it out against the Warriors. No team is going to be able to fully stop their offensive arsenal. And, of course, they put up 120 points in Game 5. But the Thunder have a defensive strategy to minimize what the Warriors are trying to do, especially in transition. And they've got the personnel to do it, which maybe no other team in the league has in terms of they've got length and athleticism across the board between Westbrook and Durant and Andre Robertson, Serge Ibaka and Steven Adams. They're all tremendously quick, and they can cover a lot of ground. And as long as they stay in their lane and they perform the way the coach needs them to play and don't freelance too much, they become a very formidable defense.
And that defense, obviously, it's made a big difference at home. How do you think they're going to be? Go ahead.
Well, actually, sorry, Todd's on a delay for some reason. I'm not sure why, so I apologize. I'm just going to go straight into the Billy Donovan question, which is the biggest question, I think, of the Thunder, because basically the talent is a little bit better, but it's the same core. You know, Billy Donovan, I live in Tennessee. I saw him coach at Florida, phenomenal coach. What has he done to take this talented roster to make it better to this degree?
That's a great question, and I don't think we have all the answers yet, and maybe we won't until the off season when we start to see what they look like next year. But I think the biggest thing that Donovan was able to do, even though the season was very up and down and oftentimes frustrating, was that he got Russell Westbrook to fully commit to what he was trying to do. And once he got that, then he essentially put to work the most dominant personality on that team, because Westbrook is the guy that makes the whole team go. He controls the ball so much of the time, so much of the offense comes through him, even despite Durant's amazing ability. Westbrook is the engine that makes that team go. And by buying into what Donovan was trying to do, I think Donovan was given a level of trust that oftentimes first-year coaches, especially coaches that come from the college ranks, are not afforded. And the easiest contrast to be able to see that illustrated is to look in Chicago and the struggles that the Bulls had under first-year former college coach Fred Hoiberg. And oftentimes we would see comments out of that city saying things like, he's not coaching us hard enough, we don't seem to have an identity, we're just lazy, all those sorts of things that honestly, I would have expected to hear from a professional team with championship aspirations to say about a rookie coach. But we haven't heard that in Oklahoma City, because I believe that Donovan got Westbrook first, and then he got the rest of the team to buy in and trust in what he was trying to do. And so we saw a lot of tinkering, much of which didn't really work out during the regular season. But now in the playoffs, he has a much firmer grasp on what his team is and how they can play, and he's put the pieces together very, very well.
Yeah, I think the Thunder are lucky that Donovan didn't take that Magic job several years ago that he turned down, and he inherited a good roster too. I mean, it's not just Billy Donovan. I mean, it's really been a really good collaboration between the two. So, but this has been an interesting series with Green's kick and Russell Westbrook seemingly dissing Steph Curry. I don't think he really has, but the media likes to play that up. How great has this series been, do you think, specifically just for the NBA?
I think it's been tremendous, especially because one of the great things about sports is that they're unpredictable. We talk about movies that we like and things like that, music, and they follow a certain rhythm and a cadence, and we kind of have an expectation of what the outcome is going to be. I mean, certainly any romantic comedy that you pick up or action movie you watch, you kind of know how it's going to end. But with sports, it's appointment viewing because we don't know the outcome. Even if we think we have all the evidence and all the information that we need in order to make an accurate prediction, these playoffs are the perfect example of how we never know as much as we think we do. Because, let's be honest, everybody thought that the Spurs were going to knock out the Thunder in the second round. They thought they were going to take them out in 5 or 6. And after the Game 1 debacle, where the Thunder, they found themselves down by 40, that evidence seemed to be playing itself out. But nobody saw the Thunder suddenly morphing into a better defensive team than the best defensive team in the NBA in the Spurs. And in this series, nobody foresaw a defense being able to actually slow down the Warriors over the course of an entire series. And so because of this unpredictable nature of sports, this is kind of what we live for, is to see a team come together and go past what everybody thought they were going to be able to do. And we don't see that often, especially in basketball, because of the 7-game series layout. But when we do, it's amazing. And I think that's what has made these playoffs so much more different than in years past.
Hey, Sherm, this is Ted. So I'm in New York, and I have to either watch the Knicks or the Nets, so you have to feel bad for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So I guess my question is, the country is seeing this breakout star called Steven Adams with through the playoffs, the 6 double-doubles. Did you see this coming from all along? I mean, because he's a third-year center. Did you see this in the maturation in years 1 and 2? Or is this because of Billy Donovan?
I'm going to sound really, really arrogant when I answer your question,
okay.
But my answer is yes. I did see it coming, and the reason is not so much that I had scouted Steven Adams when he was in high school and college. It was the fact that I had actually had the opportunity to spend time with other people from New Zealand and learn a lot about their culture, learn a lot about their value system, about the place that the sport of rugby has in their lives and in their national identity. And as soon as I saw Adams in his rookie season, I saw all of these same attributes that were exhibited through my friend. And I knew that he was going to have the temperament, he was going to have the dedication and the team perspective. And once I saw the rugby skills coming out in basic things like his ability to set screens, his footwork in and out of post position, I knew that he had all of the tools in order to be very successful in the NBA. And we saw it come into play during that rookie season when he vastly outplayed his center counterpart in Kendrick Perkins. And at that point, I knew this guy is the future center of the Thunder, And so to see him come into full blossom, and he's only 22 years old, he's going to get a lot better. I don't see any reason why I can't call him a top 5 NBA center right now, probably top 3 center within 2 years.
So tell me, reason number one, why do the Thunder win tonight? Why do they close them out tonight?
I think because we've seen the types of games that they played in Game 5 twice already in these playoffs. And the first one was in the first round in Game 2 against Dallas, where they just absolutely were terrible, and they lost their focus, and they lost at home. And then in Game 3, where they also lost at home against the Spurs, playing very much the same way, where they were ISO heavy, not a lot of passing, not a lot of helping each other out, things like that. And so we've seen that type of play 3 times in these playoffs, and every time that they've done it, in the following game, they've corrected all of the problems that they made in those losses. And so when we look back and we look at the film extensively at Welcome to Loud City, so I would encourage your listeners to check it out if you really want to understand how these plays unfold. It was very easy to see where the Thunder were not performing in the way that they had been in the previous 2 games. And based on history, we know that they have the ability to recognize and correct. And I honestly think that the Warriors threw the kitchen sink at the Thunder in Game 5 because they had to. They had to prolong the series. I don't know if they can play much better with Steph Curry not at 100%. And so I think the defense will refocus. I think the offense will be 10 times better than we saw in Game 5. Westbrook will be more focused. He will be more of a distributor. And I think that they will find that same solution that they found in Games 3 and 4. And the Thunder will take the series tonight. That's my expectation.
So, Sherm, based on the Thunder taking the series, and I guess America is expecting the Thunder to close them out tonight. If we were to look ahead, how would the Thunder match up against the Cavs?
Well, I mean, that's a tough question because once again, going into these playoffs, I think if anybody said the Thunder might have a chance to face the Cavaliers in the finals, we would not expect a positive outcome simply because of Durant's track record against LeBron, looking back to the 2012 finals and how they really underperformed against the Cavaliers this season. I think you would have to say that the Cavs would have the advantage in that series. But we also said the exact same thing in rounds 2 and 3 against the Spurs and the Warriors. And so I have a great deal of trust in how the Thunder would be able to adapt against the Cavaliers. And of course, LeBron is the unsolvable problem because of when he's doing certain things well, like he did last night in Game 6 against the Raptors, when he's hitting 3-point shots, he's distributing, he's doing all those things. He's a problem that no team really has a solution to. But I think the Thunder have shown that if they can continue to rebound well, if they can guard the secondary players, then they can put themselves in a position to win. And just like in the last 2 rounds, they would have to win on the road. But they've shown that they can do that. So I think the Thunder would still be the underdogs in that series. But right now I just don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Let's try and finish up the Warriors tonight because we know that they're going to come out with everything they have.
One final question. Let's just say the Warriors didn't go 73-9. Would Billy Donovan in your eyes, would Billy Donovan have won Coach of the Year?
My answer to that question is no. If they did not race out to that amazing record, I would probably have gone with Terry Stotts, who did an amazing job in Portland. I think he deserved that award if there was no 73-9 record this season. And honestly, we also had a lot of questions about Donovan going into the playoffs because if I had to grade his regular season coaching, from what I saw, I would probably grade it about a C+. I don't think he showed that he fulfilled a lot of the promises that he had made in the offseason. We didn't see a better defense. We didn't see a more focused Durant in particular. His game seemed to take a step backwards. The defense was hit or miss. The bench was a mess. And so we didn't get a lot of the answers to those questions until the playoffs. And so if we were only looking at the regular season, no, I would not have put Donovan in that category.
Sherman, we want to thank you for being on Baseball Beer and Barbecue. Can you tell our listeners where else you can be found?
Well, you can definitely check us out at welcomealoudcity.com. We're on Twitter at WTLC. And just pay attention to not only the site, but also our tremendous team of writers who also have their own social media accounts. You know, look them up, follow them. They all have amazing stuff to say about not just the Thunder, but the NBA as well. And we know that we have a great time when we get to discuss Thunder basketball.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Sherman's been on twice. He's always been fantastic. I mean, we're lucky. I'm hoping the Thunder win, just so if we ask him to be back on, he can be back on, because he is.
Yes.
He's phenomenal. I mean, I'm thinking we do this every week, and he's on twice, and he puts me to shame. It's crazy how good he is. His answers are like, man, I wish I could speak that well. I don't speak that kind of good English for me. I feel bad. I feel bad now as a human being. He's awesome. He's seriously awesome. So anyway, yeah. Sherman, thanks again for being on. Fantastic at both times. Wow. And I mean that genuinely. We have a lot of guests on this show, but he may be one of my favorite guests that we've had on, just because the answers that he gives are crazy good. Good. So it's anyway, I speak for a living, kind of, sort of, and I don't speak that good. So that's awesome. So let's move on to baseball again. And I know Todd has researched the Ichiro he's getting close. I'll say this about Ichiro: is he some kind of, was he an issue with the Mariners? A little bit at the end. Yeah, he has some baggage. He was the first player post 40 and above to have 10 hits in 3 games, according to the Elias Sports Bureau, and he did that last week when he had 4 hits in 2 different games. Ichiro is still a productive player, still really good. And the question is, if he had played his entire Major League career in Major League Baseball, in the American Baseball League, would he have more hits than Pete Rose? I think the question to me is obvious. Hell yeah, he would. Secondly, he's about to get 3,000. So Todd, I know you've done some research into the issue as far as Ichiro versus Pete. What have you found?
Yeah, in the guideline you said, is he better than Pete, which that's really hard to answer because so much comes into it. What I did, I just looked at their stats from age 27 because that's when Ichiro got here. So I got rid of Pete's early and just cut it off as last season because I don't want to count what Ichiro has done so far this season because odds are he's not going to hit 350, 340 for the season. That would be awesome if he did, but he's not going to. So I didn't count what he's done so far, but he is having a great bounce back year. They are remarkably close. During that time frame, Ichiro has 29.35. Pete has 29.70 in hits. The OPS is the big difference. Really, is their walks. Pete walked more. His on base percentage is about 20 points higher. And that's where, surprisingly, his greater value compared to Ichiro isn't from the hits, it's from the walks. He drew more, he just got on base more. Power is really about the same. The big difference to me is the defense. You have to give Pete credit. I'll give Pete credit for being able to play fairly well, adequately, at a lot of different positions, which obviously he did. Second base, third base, outfield. And he wasn't really adequate at first, but that's where he put himself. And you compare that to a guy who was a Gold Glove 10 times, Ichiro, and just got beyond Gold Glove. I mean, for several of those years, there was Ichiro, and then there were other really, really good right fielders. I mean, man, the guy had a cannon for an arm. And no one worried about Pete Rose on defense, whereas Ichiro would change people's game plans, as the great right fielders do. So, yeah, overall, I mean, I would give it to Ichiro just because of that arm in right field. And granted, it's not like he's a catcher or a shortstop, so it's not that big an impact. But Pete was basically there on defense. Ichiro changed games on defense. But I do give Pete credit for the walks. The big difference is Ichiro was spending a hell of a lot of time tearing up the league in Japan as opposed to here. As to who I'd rather have on the team, I understand there were problems in Seattle that maybe Ichiro wasn't the greatest teammate, but Ichiro never penciled himself in to play as opposed to a better player, which Pete did, which, I know I harp on it, but, that's the thing I don't like about Pete. Pete is about Pete. Pete's not about the team. Pete's about winning because Pete wants to win, not because he wants the Reds to win, the Phillies to win. It's all Pete. And that's this is the ultimate team sport, and he's the ultimate non-team player. That's so, to me, it's almost a wash, but I would take Ichiro just because of the defense. But it's a really small edge because that's a lot of times that Pete was on base that Ichiro wasn't, again, because of the walks. But, I would take Ichiro.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. You've obviously done really good research. Defensively, obviously, Ichiro, to me, being where it wasn't that he played the outfield, he played right field. Then that ability, cannon of an arm, his ability to cover as much outfield as he did from right field separates the two. The thing is that Pete played on some fantastic teams, and Ichiro, for the most part, did not. And I think right. Pete did he walk? Yeah. Did he have the luxury to walk? Yeah. Ichiro didn't. Different kinds of hitters, really. Ichiro had a lot more speed than Pete, but Ichiro, even if he had ever had the knowledge of, if I do walk, I'm probably going to be driven in. He never really had that, to be honest. Even though he had Griffey on the team, they weren't great teams per se for the majority of his career. And Pete came up in a time where he had Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan, Tony Perez, all Hall of Famers. He would probably be Pete would probably be in the Hall of Fame. So does Ichiro, and I'll ask both of you guys this, Ichiro go into the Hall of Fame? That's a question. Ichiro?
I don't even think that's a question.
Yeah, he has to.
Yeah, but in this day and age, we limit so much of, does Ty Cobb get into the Hall of Fame? I don't know. That's how it is nowadays. So it's funny because, sorry to interrupt you, Todd, but I'm going to vent for a second. Hector Martinez should fucking be in the Hall of Fame. And the guy is 300, 400, 500. And how many other players have done that have gotten to the Hall of Fame? Nobody. And I wonder if because he played in his entire career in Seattle, almost his entire career, and then he went to New York, and then he went to Miami, they don't really count. Because he didn't spend a lot of quality time in New York. If this, I'll say this. If a guy had put up the same stats in Boston or New York or with my Dodgers, or there's no doubt. This guy is not only in the Hall of Fame, he's one of the all-time greats. But because he played in Seattle, maybe there's that question, right?
I think it's twofold. I think partly it's Seattle, and that's not going to count against Ichiro because Ichiro is, he's a much better player. And Edgar does belong in the Hall of Fame. But the big thing is he's a DH. And, Frank Hurt's in, but, but Frank Hurt has bigger numbers. But Martinez definitely
he has more power numbers, but he doesn't have bigger numbers over. And I'll say this: the thing about Edgar, and this is going to go way off base because it's different from the question I asked you guys.
Here we go.
We are.
Edgar became the hitting coach last year, halfway through the season of the Mariners. Do you know what their win-loss record is since he became the hitting coach? Well, look at this year.
102
look at I'll say they're 20 games over 500 since he became the hitting coach. Look at Robbie Cano's numbers since he became the hitting coach, and he works directly with it. And I think I may have mentioned this. I went to see the Mariners when pitchers and catchers were reporting in late February, I guess. And someone was, I think that's Edgar in the batting cage. It was freaking Edgar in the batting cage. There's no hitters because the guy. This is the difference to me between him and almost any other Hall of Famer. Did he have raw talent? Yeah, but did he have that raw talent that he didn't have to work at it? No. So that makes him a great hitting coach. The difference to me is the guy still hit 300, 400, and 500, and that's hitting, that's on-base percentage, that's slugging. The guy deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Anyway, I should end the show with that, but
I'll just run some quick numbers by as far
about Edgar Martinez, about how great he is, about the greatness that is Edgar Martinez.
Okay, this is, and for the time period I was talking about, from age 27 to like 41, this is Ichiro and Pete. 313, 378, 374 with a 752 OPS. Okay, that's average, obviously, on base percentage, slugging, and then OPS. And then you follow that up with 314, 350, 376, 725. The first one's Pete, the second one's Ichiro. WAR, again, this is just that particular time frame. Pete's WAR wins above replacement level, 63.9, Ichiro 58.4, which Ichiro has already added 0.7 this brief part of the season alone.
But is that batting or is that defense as well?
Well, you know how the defensive WAR is so small. Pete lost a few points. Ichiro gained a few points, but I don't think that's an accurate representation. I mean, we've gone over how what player there was an excellent defensive player and he had a negative WAR, defensive WAR. It's like I'm not quite sure what they're getting at with that, but so and again, it's just going by numbers, just going on the base paths. I would go with Pete, but for the whole package, I'm definitely going with Ichiro. And I think Ichiro gets in because he's going to benefit a little bit from like the Sandy Koufax rule, kind of in reverse. Sandy's, obviously, his career was cut short, and they looked at the body of work instead of, let's look at the counting numbers. Ichiro's got counting numbers anyway, but his career started late because he was in Japan. I think he'll get benefit of that vote, so he'll definitely go in. But yeah, Edgar definitely should be in. But I think eventually they'll get over the fact that, well, he only played DH. It's like, that's a position in baseball. Don't hold that against him because he did his damn job. It's not like he changed the rules and said, I'm the only guy who's going to do this. Ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And this, again, somehow I take the blame myself. I've taken, Pete Rose's all-time or his career on-base percentage, 375, Edgar Martinez, because I think we all agree if Pete hadn't cheated, he would be in the Hall of Fame, no doubt, right? I mean, the guy had
of course. Easily.
Yeah.
But not unanimous.
His on-base percentage. What's that?
But not unanimous because those people are out there.
Yeah, that's true. On-base percentage, I'll say this. Sorry to interrupt you, Ted. 375 for Pete, 418 for Edgar.
I'm just going to say this much. Even when it's Derek Jeter's time and or the great Mariano Rivera, they still won't go in unanimously.
No.
Because you have that contrarian that's out there that's going to say, you know what? No, I just can't see it for some strange reason.
Well, I think that Derek Jeter actually, when he gets voted in, I don't think he'll be 100% just for the reason you said, but I do think that he may get the highest vote ever because he played in New York and people love Derek Jeter. So,
talking about votes and how writers can be jerks. Of course, Williams hit 406, last 400 hitter, same year, bad year to do it, when DiMaggio, of course, had the streak we were talking about earlier. And a lot of talk was like, well, which is more important, the streak or hitting 400. Williams was left off the ballot entirely by two writers. Entirely. Strictly because they didn't like his personality. And granted, he was abrasive. I'm sure Lebitard was one of them. But, that goes to, how ridiculous is that? How ridiculous is that? If those two guys had just put him on the ballot like fifth, he would have won the MVP that year. So, yeah, some writers, a few writers can be jerks, that's for sure. That's ridiculous.
I tell you one person that will go in unanimously in 15 years.
Ted.
Matt Harvey.
Well, this is a look at, before we end the show, this is a look at the standings. Baseball currently, Red Sox have a 1-game lead over the Orioles. No, the Orioles only plus 22. Even Manny Machado, I think, is plus 165 for the season. The White Sox a half game over the Indians, 1 game over the Royals, who are playing 7-3 in their last 10, but started off poorly. 2 games over the Tigers. The Twins also seem to play in that division. The Mariners are 1.5 over the Rangers, and then everybody else is far back. The Mets and Nationals basically tied. The Mets have a percentage lead, 596 to 592. The Cubs they're only. How great are the Pirates? They're only 5 games over the Pirates. The Cubs plus 123 run differential. Pirates plus 33. The Cardinals 8.5 back have a better run differential than the Pirates, which is kind of crazy. The Dodgers have a better run differential than the Giants, even though the Giants lead them by 4.5. So maybe run differential doesn't mean a whole lot in baseball. So, and then looking at the, I'm not sure if Ted is talking or if he's just gone Megatron. But as far as
neither.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe I have.
I think you're doing. Yeah, it's kind of both. So, American League leaders, AL batting average, Xander Bogaerts of the Red Sox, not even Jackie Bradley Jr., 345. Jackie Bradley Jr. is third, 341. Nick Castellanos of the Tigers, 341 as well. David Ortiz, last season, 337, having a great season. And then we look at the NL, and Daniel Murphy, somehow, batting 393. Ted's nephew hates that, by the way. Ryan Braun, 353 for Milwaukee. Bill Brist is 350. And then looking at the home runs, we have a tie at the top of the AL home run leader board right now. Mark Trumbo, another acolyte of Edgar Martinez, just want to say, 15. Todd Frazier, acolyte of the former Cincinnati Reds hitter Pete Rose, I'm assuming, 15, and then Robbie Cano, 14. And then looking at the NL home runs, Cespedes has 15. And it's funny, we talked about how great he was at the end of last season, but he's also driven in a whole bunch of stuff and hit home runs this season too. So
no one's talking about it.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No one's talking about it.
Nobody's talking about
it. Except you.
Except us. We just mentioned it. I just mentioned it. Well, just because I'm looking at the leaderboard. I'll say this. Nolan Arenado and Manny Machado, the only 2 players to be in the top 10 of each National League and American League in both hitting and defensive WAR. So I think that maybe, early season, those are your 2 MVPs, Arenado and Machado, because of what they're doing for their teams offensively and defensively. Cespedes tied for the lead also in runs batted in, along with Arenado. He plays for this AAA team, Colorado. I'm not really sure what that's about, but and Chris Bryant, 36 as well.
Doesn't count if you play in Colorado.
What's that?
I said it doesn't count if you play in Colorado.
That's true. That's a good point, yeah. And David Ortiz, 45 RBIs. What?
Lee, I got to jump in here.
Martinez.
I've got to jump in there and say, Lee, if the 3 of us were playing on Colorado, you would hit 35 home runs a year.
No, I would be the Walter O'Malley of the team. And Todd knows what I'm talking about. This is a kid who's never going to play shortstop for the Seattle Mariners because he doesn't really have the range or he weighs like maybe 100 pounds soaking wet. The guy has. It's funny because Todd, he ended up at second base, right, on a single.
Right. On a what was it? It was one hop to the center fielder, wasn't it? I mean, God, it was just. Yeah, I mean, center fielder came over, cut off the ball easily. And the guy's at second base, and we're looking at it like, when the hell did he get there? Everybody else would have been, they would have been at first, and they wouldn't even made the turn. They're just like, okay, I got my single. Let's get that second. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Billy Hamilton's in the game, and he's not the fastest guy on the diamond that day. It's like, that's scary. Because that dude is, holy crap, he is fast.
Walter O'Malley has 3 home runs this year, all on dribblers to third base. And AL win leader Chris Hill actually lost a game this week. He has 9. David Price has 7. Arrieta 9. Strasburg 8. Kershaw, who now has a better ERA at 7. And then you look at Kershaw, he's 1.48 ERA. Again, if you take out his 1 inning, and as I always like to mention, he is at 0.8 for the season.
He is the Edgar Martinez of National League pitchers.
No, this guy Kershaw's. There's no comparison because Kershaw, if he retired today, he should be in the Hall of Fame, I think.
Yeah.
But Rich Hill, the greatness that is Rich. Actually, Rich Hill is pretty good. 2.18 American League leads the league in ERA. Quintana and Sale 2-3. So the White Sox still are somehow finding their way, although they'll finish in last place somehow. You guys have any final words?
I have a quick final thing. UFC Fight Night is actually at night for a change because it's not in Europe, so it won't be during the day. It's actually tomorrow night. Preliminary starts at 7, main card's at 9. Definitely catch the preliminaries because there's the last preliminary fight, which means it'll be on like probably 8:30. Jessica Ai against Sarah McMahon. Sarah McMahon, Ai is really good, but Sarah McMahon can definitely put herself back in the title contention, depending on her performance. But the main event, the main fight, Thomas Laneda, 20-0-0. Cody Garbrandt, 8-0-0. Bantamweights, that should be a hell of a fight because these guys, they're bantamweights. They're going to be throwing like 90 punches a second, almost as fast as the kid for the Mariners. So it's definitely a good card tomorrow night. So on Fox, which I don't hate Fox, but it's on Fox Sports 1. So there you go.
They're throwing how many punches a minute?
90 a minute.
90 a minute. And if they fought Floyd Mayweather, one of those might land.
Maybe. Oh, which, by the way, Mike and Mike, they're talking about, the potential ridiculous circus of Mayweather versus Conor McGregor, and Greeny said that he knows it wouldn't be a good fight, but he'd watch it because it would be an interesting circus. It's like, no, it would be god-awful. Golic had it dead to rights. It would be a travesty. It's like excellent professional boxers can't touch Mayweather. How would this be entertaining, watching McGregor tire himself out throwing 67 punches and landing 0 and then collapsing in the heat without ever getting hit? What a farce. What an absolute farce. It just pisses me off so much that this is even being discussed. God damn it, I hate it. Just fight in your weight class, McGregor. Suck it up and actually fight, okay? Stop worrying about your idiotic crap about, I'm going to make a lot of money. It's like, dude, be a fighter, okay?
Ted, any final words?
Eat, drink, and be merry this weekend. And that's about it. Enjoy.
You going to the game tomorrow night?
I'm still on the bubble right now. I have the tickets. I haven't purchased them yet, but
Clayton Kershaw is pitching.
I know, and it's to be continued.
Next week. And that's our show. Hopefully everybody's been pissed off at some point during the show. So we'll be right back next Saturday, and we end with our outro. Of course, maybe Ken Griffey Jr. is not the hitter that he was without Edgar batting in front of him. So here's our outro.
The fans hoping to catch a little bit of the old-time religion right here, baby, with Junior stepping up to the plate. Here comes the stretch. And the pitch to Junior on the way. Swing and a fly ball hit to deep right center field. That baby is going to be fly away. The old-time religion lives. Junior does it. A 2-run home run. And we are tied at 3-3. My, oh my. Magic is back at least for a night.
Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Yesterday, Cliff Sora shared a top 10 list of hot fusion restaurants, a vegan gluten-free mashup recipe, and a podcast featuring organic food trends. Oh, TMI, too much internet information. That's oversharing. Cliff, Geico has something worth sharing with your friends. Like how on Geico.com you could save hundreds on your car insurance, update your policy, and report a claim. Gluten-free info that's easy to swallow. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Hey, it's Flo, and this is my impression of a drill instructor directing a musical. Town hut! Get those tap heels in line and let me see those jazz hands! Are you bundling your home and auto insurance through Progressive? Can you hear me through those sequins?
Bundle your home and auto through Progressive and save.
Left, 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 and step ball change.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates. Home insurance provided and serviced by other select insurers.